Hey, welcome to DataLeadrs. This is your weekly 20-minute update for data analytics and everything digital. So this is episode 6. Let's get started. Hello to all you data leaders and welcome to this episode of your weekly data news in less than 20 minutes. We have a fair bit to cover today, and this week we have been busy interacting with all of you as usual. First things first, there's a link in the description below to check out the last 5 videos and vote in the LinkedIn group which intro and outro you think is the best. You will notice that over the last 5 episodes I've been using different intros and different outros on every video. So go back and take a look at each one and then head over to the LinkedIn group and vote on which one you believe is best. And remember that you may have to live with it for a while, so make sure you choose the one you really like the best. Just in terms of what's been happening this week, obviously you can see we have a new visual on the video. There's a whole bunch of stuff that should have turned up this week that didn't, including a brand new camera to get better visuals. And what I've noticed is in this room where I've got more space, there's a bit of echo on the sound, so apologies for that. We're going to fix that over time, but as you can see, we're moving things on and working hard to make this better every week. So this week I've been confronted by a number of issues that I wasn't expecting, and as such it does seem that whilst I was hoping just to kind of set this up and simply start engaging with the community, things got serious quite quickly. So I see this as a huge opportunity for the crowd. And that means all of you starting to take some action to help create what we want this to be. I've decided to form an advisory board so that we can form a small group of people who will guide this channel, the website, the LinkedIn group, and anything else we create on behalf of you guys, the data community. And I want to be clear, this project is not for profit, it is for the community, but it needs the right set of people to drive it forwards. I've already received some fantastic applications, but I want to have a few more before we appoint the advisory board. So if you believe you can help drive us to the right place, please drop me a line at chris@dataleadrs.com. It's on the screen now, and explain exactly why you believe you will be a great addition to the advisory board. I really look forward to hearing from you because your involvement is critically important. And of course, before we get started, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you're new and or want to be notified when we post new content. Next week, I'm recording a really special interview and it will not come out on the normal Sunday afternoon. So be sure you're subscribed if you want to see that content. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into this week's news. This first article is around VR and AR, or virtual and augmented reality. These things can really shape the way you tell your story and excite your organization around the future. And a lot of it is already here and available to you now. This article reflects on the fact that almost 20% of Facebook employees are working on VR and AR. And now remember that Facebook owns Oculus, and since moving away from tethered Oculus Rift devices towards standalone units like Quest 2, it has accelerated its investment in this space. Mark Zuckerberg, in a recent interview with The Information, said the following: "I think it really makes sense for us to invest deeply to help shape what I think is going to be the major next computing platform. This combination of augmented and virtual reality to make sure that it develops in this way, that it is fundamentally about people being present with each other and coming together." Now, if you don't know, the Oculus Quest is probably the best value and most accessible VR platform available. And if you haven't got one, I highly recommend it. I've put a link in the description so you can check out how easy it is to grab one and start your journey in VR. I will, perhaps in a future episode, give you a demo of the Oculus and how you can power data visualization using huge screens in VR and multiple screens in a small space. For the moment, you can see here what it can look like. And I have linked in the description below the full video so that you can take a full look at it and enjoy what it has to show you. In this article from Duke Science and Technology, they look at deep brain stimulation, which uses an implanted electrode to deliver small pulses to the brain to the subthalamic nucleus, which is part of the brain no bigger than a grain of rice, and it's evidently not always in the same place. Guillermo Sapiro, PhD, is pioneering artificial intelligence to help solve societal problems, particularly those related to health and healthcare. He uses machine learning to find the precise area where that electrode should go by learning based on existing MRI images, where experts have previously identified the target area, and the model can now predict the precise spot where the electrode should be placed on any new MRI image. This is giving rise to a whole new area of study called computational neurosurgery. The article goes on to cite other projects that Sapiro has been involved in. It's a nice, easy, short read, but very worthwhile. And finally, a longer article from the Express Tribune that I think is a thought-provoking peek at the future and what organisations need to consider perhaps beyond what they have already done around bias, compliance, ethics when considering artificial intelligence. This article reflects on bias in artificial intelligence and points out that the advances in AI are creating scenarios where it is much harder to detect and address biases. The next generation of AI is designed to develop insights without relying on human expertise or on a set of curated data sets even. This is a departure from the current AI implementations that potentially have a human in the loop to a future where AI constantly updates and enhances itself to suit its surroundings. Reinforcement learning empowers a computer to constantly modify its behavior based on external interactions and therefore could discard the original learnings and training data that set it up in the first place. Hence, if the code is produced by humans who had ethical practices built into that code, these could potentially be overridden by a more intelligent AI system if they were interfering with its perceived performance. To quote the article specifically, it's worthwhile me reading this key paragraph. Although bias is a vital prerequisite for intelligence, it is critical to ensure that its usage within programs do not violate legal conditionalities. This is particularly important for businesses as they could be held liable for wrong decisions made by automated processes within their setup. In general, a common approach to minimize system bias is to ensure that the deployed machine is trained on a well-represented data set. However, the main challenge with solely relying on this approach is that as external surroundings inevitably change, the stored generalizations start to become obsolete. As a result, the learning algorithms will swiftly overwrite original insights with latest discoveries. In such dynamic environments, therefore, the organizations will have to move beyond the mere fixing of initial training instances to minimize rational flaws. The article then goes on to look at human behavior, auditing possibilities, and human psychology research, emphasizing that it's important for organizations to routinely audit their AI capabilities and constantly review AI behaviors, human behaviors, and ethical standards, and draws close alignment between the way machines work on one hand and our own societal and behavioral standards, which we know are somewhat intertwined. It's definitely worth your time to read. It will take you about 10 minutes and will trigger some key thoughts. For instance, do you know where all your AI machine learning and AI deployments are in your organization? Where is the greatest risk for your next ethical dilemma, or even worse, your next ethical failure? So when you think about that audit capability, it can be huge. When you really consider where it might be, where these things might exist in your organization, you start to worry a little bit more whether you actually know what's going on. So with those thoughts ringing around your head, that is it for this week. Please remember to take a look at the intros and check out the article links in the description of the video on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and comment, as these will help us become more popular and bring more people to this community. It's free and it only takes you a second, I promise. All right, until next week, keep leading the way, have a fantastic and successful week, and take care. See you.